We live in the current peak of the digital age right now. And through these evolutions, it feels like it's less and less incentive to open and read a good book. And no, I don't mean audiobooks or books that you listen on Kindle. I mean opening the pages and glossing your eyes over a good book. So, we're going to talk today about the power of reading a good book, starting with how it's affected my life personally. I was an avid reader growing up. Through middle school, I loved The Lightning Thief and the Percy Jackson series. I liked the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series and other things that a middle schooler might read. As I got to high school and college, my mind expanded. I had my personal development era. I had a good stint of my life where I was really into psychology and sociology books. And as of late, I've been reading about history and how the revolutionary leaders have facilitated us to where we are today. Regardless of the genre that I was reading, the action itself always brought me different opportunities that I can't say that I would have had otherwise. I had cash for reading. The more books I read, the more cash I would earn. I've gotten scholarships for books that I read and wrote reports on, scholarships that people saw that I was a reader as a kid and just told me to sign up for just because they thought I had potential based on how much I would read. Then there's the aspect of meeting really quality people in different spaces that I would read, such as libraries or other shared spaces that I would read at when I was in college, having people come up to me and ask me about my book that I'm reading, just overall having a wider range of networking. And honestly, having a reputation for being a reader has its own advantages, and that's not really what I was doing it for, but it is one of those hidden benefits of being a reader. People kind of look at you differently and treat you a little bit differently, and it's not like elementary school where people bully you for trying to be a nerd and oh, you're smart, but they honestly genuinely treat you with more respect at times, treat you as if you're smarter, and trust that you know what you're talking about because you are the person that reads books. Then there's the really general and better overall qualities or benefits of being a reader. For one, you have better comprehension. When you are a reader, you are more likely to read through things online, contracts, articles, things that you're signing. And it really doesn't require very much reading in school when I was in school, and it really requires less actual reading nowadays. So we're at an all-time low when it comes to comprehension in this country because our kids are not reading as kids, and then they grow up and they don't just start reading because they're adults, well, teenagers and then adults. They just continue to not read and to not know how to read on a deeper level and don't comprehend things. So better comprehension is definitely a really big general benefit. Then you have deeper critical thought. When you are used to the mush, when you are used to other types of consumption, you are less likely to actually think about the things that you're consuming. But when you're reading, you have to look over every word and you have to think about what you're looking at as you're looking at it. You think about it a little bit deeper, on a deeper level. Critical thought is not something that we're born with. It is a skill that you earn and then cultivate. And it's something that if you don't do it or if you don't use it, then you lose it. And reading isn't the only way to think critically, but it is one of those ways where it is the most accessible because you're not honestly going to critically think about every TikTok that you watch, every Instagram reel that you watch, every YouTube video that you watch. You're not going to critically think about it. You're going to click on this video and at most within 10 minutes you're done. But with a book, you have to read. You have to go over every word. When you come back to it and you haven't read for a day, 2 days, 3 days, sometimes you reread the page that you read last just so you can remember where you are and get back to your thought process that you were working on in the days prior. Then there's the benefit of having a slower dopamine rush. Just like with the other forms of consumption, quick dopamine hits from a YouTube video, especially a short, an Instagram reel, a TikTok video, they hit like this. Every few seconds, you have a new quick hit of dopamine. And when you read, especially on a consistent basis, it helps you slow that down. It helps you with your attention span. And I wish I had the data with me, the statistics, the scholarly articles to back this up so I can throw them on screen. But quite frankly, I don't have those on me. But, I have read the correlation. And although it isn't something that is widespread because we haven't had these forms of consumption for long enough for it to really be significant, I think if you really think about it, it just makes sense, right? when you consume slower, more long, drawn out forms of media, you are going to have less quick dopamine hits, and you are going to slow your dopamine rush and lengthen your attention span. Simple as that. So then you have better information retention, which really builds on the last point. When you are watching, consuming these different types of content with the quick dopamine hits, you're not really paying attention to the information. If I was to tell you, if I was to ask you, what video did you watch 5 scrolls ago and could you tell me what it's about? You probably couldn't do it. But if I ask you about the last book that you read, and the last book that you read was within the last few weeks or even maybe a couple months ago, you could probably give me a good breakdown on what the book is, what it's about, some of the information in it, and what you were able to take from it and use in your everyday life, or maybe in your very niche part of your life that the book affected. You retain the information a whole lot better than just consuming every other way that the average 20 something or the average teenager or the average kid is used to nowadays. And then from reading, you open yourself up to a wider network of people, which I did talk about in my own personal experience. But I think that's something that isn't really just pertaining to me. That's something that if you read, you start to realize I have much more opportunity to connect with people. If we've read the same book, it's something for us to talk about. If we watch the same YouTube video, yeah, we could talk about it, but it doesn't really lead anywhere. But because books provoke more thoughts than short form consumption, you can actually have more meaningful conversation with people that have like minds as you, or just like content that they have consumed in this slower matter. And then honestly, my last point about the power of a good book, even though I could go on and on for days about this, why not? I know it might be a little bit more boring. It might not be your run-of-the-mill, your average, your the speed that you're used to nowadays. But why not? Seriously, I want someone in the comments to give me a really good reason to not read a good book. And good books are subjective. It's different to everybody. But why not read a good book? Seriously. Let me know in the comments if you have any good reasons. Let me know if it's anything that I missed that I would love to have a conversation and talk about it. Just like if we read the same book, I would love to have a conversation and talk about it. Anyways, I'm going to stop rambling. I'll catch y'all the next one.